Hello again, my lovely students. This is Miss Razan. Today, we are going to talk about weather and water in hot countries. So please open your book, page 94, and write beside the title, Weather and Water in Hot Countries, number 1. In this lesson, we are going to understand the changes in the weather. So, we have to know that in hot, dry countries, the weather only changes from season to season. So, in hot, dry countries, the weather only changes when the seasons change. So, for example, in summer, the temperature in the day is very high. So, the weather is very hot. So, the temperature can be between 40 to 50 degrees Celsius in the day. So the weather is very hot. But at night, it's warm. So the temperature can be between 20 to 25 degrees Celsius. So this is the weather in summer in hot, dry countries. So what about winter? Actually, in winter, in hot, dry countries, the weather is warm in the day. So the temperature is between 15 and 20 degrees Celsius. And at night, the weather is very cold. So the temperature can be between 5 degrees Celsius and less. So it could reach into 0, which is a freezing point. And the most important thing here you have to know that the rains only come in the winter. So in hot, dry countries, the only time it rains is in the winter. So, again, in hot, dry countries, the only time it rains is in the winter. So, you have to know that in summer, the temperature very high in the day, and in the winter, the temperature is good. That means the weather is warm. So in your book, page 94, they explained all of that, and they wrote that in summer the weather is very hot and the temperature is between 40 to 50 degrees Celsius in the day and 20, which is warm at night. But in winter, the temperature is between 15 to 20 degrees Celsius and the weather is warm in the day and it's cold at night. And the last thing that we mentioned that in rains, the only time it rains is in the winter. Okay, now if we want to describe the weather, we have to use one of those descriptions. So here we have many weather descriptions like wet, dry, calm, stormy, hot, cold, cloudy, clear. So what do we mean by each word? Let's start with the first one, which is wet. Wet actually means covered or saturated with water. So if the weather is covered with water or saturated with water, that means we have droplets of water on the air, so the weather is wet. So the first description is wet. And actually we have the opposite of wet, which is dry. Dry means free from liquid, so there is no droplet of water in the air. So wet and dry, they are opposite because one of them covered or saturated with water and the second one is free from liquid, so they are opposite. And we have the second two description, calm and stormy. So when we describe the weather, so we said the weather is calm, that means that the weather free from wind, so there is no wind. So calm means free from wind. And stormy, actually stormy description characterized by strong winds. So if we have strong winds, we say that the weather is stormy. And if we don't have wind, so the weather is calm. Okay, what about hot and cold? You know that hot means high degree of heat. So if we have high temperatures, so the weather is hot. And if we have low temperatures, so here the weather is cold, as we explained before. And the last two descriptions, cloudy and clear. Here we have cloudy, that means the sky is covered with clouds. So we have many clouds in the sky, so the weather is cloudy. And clear means no clouds in the sky. So they are opposite also. So now in your book, page 95, we have a question. The weather is often described in opposites. Draw a line between the words in the bubble that mean the opposite of each other. One has been done for you. Okay, let's start with the example that they did before. So we have the first one. Here we have hot. As we say that hot means very high temperature, and the opposite of hot is excellent, cold. So low temperature means cold, high temperature means hot. Okay, let's describe the second description or the second word, wet. So as we say that wet means presence of droplets of water in the air. So if we don't have droplets of water in the air, so the weather here is dry. So wet and dry, they are opposite. Okay, let's go to calm. Calm, as we say that when we don't have wind, so it's calm. But if we have strong winds, so the weather is excellent, stormy. So if we don't have winds, so the weather is calm. But if we have a strong wind, so the weather is stormy. Let's go to the last word, which is clear. So clear means no clouds in the sky. And the opposite of clear is cloudy. So when we have clouds in the sky, so the weather is cloudy. And if we don't have, so the weather is clear. So please in your book, write the answer. So match between each two opposite words. So wet, opposite of dry. Calm and stormy are opposite. Clear and cloudy. And the last two words, hot and cold. So draw the line to connect each two opposite words. Okay, now we have another question in your book, page 95. So please write inside the cloud, section A. So we have a cloud in your book. Please write inside it, section A. Let's read the question. The question is, can you think of any symbols that you could draw for sunny, cloudy, windy, and rainy? Now we want to draw symbols for each word. So if we want to tell people that the weather is sunny, what do we have to draw? Excellent. We have to draw sun. So drawing sun means that the weather is sunny. Excellent. Okay, what about the second word? Cloudy. What do we have to draw in the sky? Or what do we have to draw to tell people that the weather is cloudy? Excellent. We have to draw clouds. So when we draw clouds, that will tell people that the weather is cloudy. Okay. What about windy? What do we have to draw to tell people that the weather is windy? We can draw this symbol. So this symbol means that the weather is windy. So why? Because wind can move the leaves. So this symbol is windy. Okay, what about rainy? Also, we have to draw clouds with rain to tell people that the weather is rainy. So we draw 4 symbols for 4 weather descriptions. The first one is sunny. So we draw sun for sunny weather, clouds for cloudy weather, this symbol for windy weather, and cloud with rain for rainy weather. So please try to draw your symbols in your notebook. Okay, now let's start with weather and water in hot countries number 2. So please open your book, page 96, and write beside the title, weather and water in hot countries number 2. Here we have to understand that where the water comes from in hot, dry countries. So we want to know, or we want to describe and explain and mention the sources of water in hot, dry countries. So in this lesson, we are going to understand where the water comes from in hot and dry countries. So actually in this lesson they mentioned 3 sources of water. So actually they mentioned that the water that comes from the sky actually is known as rainwater. So if we have rain in hot dry countries in winter, so the source of water here is rainwater. So water that comes from the sky is called rainwater. So the water that comes from the sky is called rainwater. What about the second source of water? So we have water comes from under the ground. So the water that comes from under the ground is called groundwater. So from rain or from the sky is called rainwater. But the water comes from the ground is called groundwater. So if you look at this picture, here we have cloud and rain. So the rain, when they collect in lakes or in any place, we call them rainwater. But when the water comes from under the ground, we call it groundwater. So until now, we have 2 sources. Number 1, rainwater, and the second one, groundwater. Okay, the third source of water is oases. So water is taken from the oasis. Actually, we have oases in hot, dry countries. So we can find oases in desert also. So in hot, dry countries, the oasis is one of source of water. Okay, now in your book we have a question, page 97. Draw a picture to show where the water came from. Actually, we have many sources of water, and we have also another sources. We did not describe them, but we have more than we mentioned. Okay, here for example, as we said, we have oases, rainwater, groundwater, and also we have sea water. So seawater also is one of the sources of water. Okay, now in next lesson, the last lesson, also weather and water in hot countries number 3. Here we have to know that we cannot drink the water that comes directly from the groundwater or the sea. So if we want to use groundwater or sea water, we have to clean this water before using or before drinking. So we cannot drink the water that comes directly from the groundwater or the sea. But we can drink the water which comes from the rainwater. But groundwater and seawater, we have to clean them before using. In this lesson, we are going to learn how to clean the water. So, to clean the water, here we have a simple investigation, which is cleaning groundwater. Okay, let's read the investigation to understand what we have to do. Sometimes the groundwater can be dirty, so we have to clean it to drink it. So what do we have to do? Here they told us that we have to take some muddy water. So groundwater could be muddy, so we have to take some muddy water. Stretch a piece of cloth. Here we stretched a piece of cloth over a bowl. We have to pour the muddy water through the cloth. So what do you think? What has happened to the water when we pour it through the cloth? Excellent. The water is now clean. So we use the cloth to filter the water. So using the cloth is one of the ways that we can clean the groundwater and remove the mud from the water. Okay, what about the second question? What has happened to the mud? If you look at the picture, you will find that the mud stayed in the cloth. So what has happened to the mud? Actually, the mud stayed in the cloth. So here the water has been filtered. So when we filter the water, we make a process called filtration. So when we remove the mud and dirt from the water, this process is called filtration. Okay, so answer the questions in your book. Here, what has happened to the water? You know that the water filtered is clean water. So the water is now clean. And what has happened to the mud? Actually, the mud stayed in the cloth. And here the water has been filtered. It's called filtration. So this process is called filtration. Okay. We can also use filtration for cleaning seawater. So, also seawater is one of the sources of water. So, we have to clean seawater to use it. So, seawater is very salty. We cannot drink it directly. And actually, it's poisonous. So, if we want to drink it, we have to clean it because seawater is very salty and it's poisonous. Okay, now we have 3 questions in your book, page 99. Let's answer them together. Question number 1. In what season does it rain in hot, dry countries? We said before that we have only one season the rain come in hot dry countries, or the rain fall down in hot dry countries. So the question here, in what season does it rain in hot dry countries? If you remember, we say that in the winter that we have rain. Okay, what about the question number 2? Name 2 sources of water that we use for drinking. Actually, we mentioned more than 2. So we say that we have number 1, groundwater. Number 2, rainwater. And number 3, we have oasis. And we have also sea water. So rainwater and the groundwater, if you want to write 2 sources, it's enough. So name 2 sources of water that we use for drinking: rainwater, groundwater, seawater. But you have to know that groundwater and seawater, we have to clean them and filtrate them before using. Okay, the last question. Question number 3. Why can't we drink seawater straight from the sea? What do you think? Can you drink seawater directly? Sure, no. So, why can't we drink seawater straight from the sea? Actually, because it contains too much salt. So, seawater contains too much salt, so we cannot drink it directly. So, focus on those 3 questions. You have to know that it rains only in the winter, and we have more than 2 sources of water, like rainwater, groundwater, seawater. And you have to know that we cannot drink seawater and also groundwater directly because seawater contains too much salt and groundwater contains mud and dirt, so we cannot drink them direct. Okay, so please write the answers in your book and study well, and thank you for listening. Good luck.